All right. I think people might just be itching to get to questions. We've got a good amount of people here. So, what questions do we got going on today? Thoughts, concerns, grievances, things you're running into in the business? Would love for you to unmute, put it in the chat. What's been going on? Alexander, I see you there. I know you have a question for the chat, and it's kind of a win as
Yeah.
well.
I was going to start us off, I guess, since nobody's going. I have a question. We've got a whole lot more leads coming in, which is a big win for us. But recently we have an opportunity to go bid a commercial job. A Chicken Express wants to retile their whole kitchen. So I was going to ask for just any general advice on people who've worked with more commercial jobs or like chains and such. How do you go about that contractually in the job, things to look out for, and help with scheduling on a tight schedule because they don't want to be closed for too long? Just kind of all around, what advice do you have on, and what are your experience working with commercial chains in the past?
Chris, what advice you got?
Hey Alexander, how's it going, buddy? So my I'm just gonna be real quick. My only advice is get a lawyer involved, a construction lawyer involved, because those contracts are really specific. I got a buddy who is a commercial contractor. He actually just stopped doing residential. He's been referring all his residential to us because he's tired of it, but he's just doing commercial now. But he's got an attorney that he uses for any issues, and they got a really tight commercial contract that they use. So he's really big on that when I talk to him about that stuff. So I would, get some sort of bulletproof contract to cover your butt.
That's great advice. I think it's always good advice to, if you have an attorney, somebody who can overview something, look at it, let you know what looks good, what doesn't. It's always solid advice there, especially when you're dealing with a large corporation. Robert, I saw your hand up. Do you have advice on this as well?
I was just going to say, read the contract thoroughly and make sure you have plenty of money to float the job. I worked with a Home Depot job that I'm still owed a bunch of money on. I mean, 8-9 months later. So just read the contracts.
That's great advice. That is something, and Alexander, I didn't even bring that up when you brought this up to me, but a lot of times commercial projects, or anytime you're dealing with corporate, their pay schedule can suck. It's not always the case, but it sometimes is, where they really want to put you on a net of some sort. Their draw schedules are just not good, and sometimes it's not worth taking the job because of how bad the cash flow is in it. And so that would be kind of top priority to look at, because you don't want to be in the situation Robert is, where 9 months down the road he's still chasing down Home Depot to get paid. Not fun.
Yeah, I mean, some of the bigger companies, their pay's literally 120 plus days out. So
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, just make sure you have the money to float it.
Yeah,
makes no sense. I hate that stuff so much. It makes me so mad.
The bank doesn't count 120 days out as even a payable event. Like you can't show the bank on a account statement like, hey, I'm owed this money. It's 120 days past. They write it off as you're never going to get it. So, but that's most of the bigger companies. They're at 120 days, so it's crazy.
Yeah, I would have never thought about that either.
The best thing to do in those situations as well is to have a draw schedule that you present. Because if you don't present something first and you just have to accept whatever they have, or it seems like you're reacting or responding in some way, it's not really going to help you very well. So know what your draw schedule is, say this is how we do business, and try to get it to go like that normally first, to go according to your typical draw schedule. But at the very least, it opens up the negotiation to say, well, all right, this is what we normally do. We pay for the work coming up for the next week, right?
Yeah.
So if you can't do that, how do we get close to that? Because this is our arrangement, how we do all of our work. And then you're in a much stronger negotiation at that point.
And
Great question.
also sometimes they have retainage where they keep 10-15% of the money until a year down the road to make sure your work gets through.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh. Wow.
Yeah, this is where it comes in where sometimes this might not be worth doing the job if,
Yeah.
if they aren't willing to work with you. But I also know that there are clients here that do work for big chains and the pay is decent and it works well. It's really just all depending on the contract and what they're willing to do.
Yeah.
So when you get that, Alexander, send it to me so I can look at it. And then I do like the advice of having an attorney review it too.
Yes, it's a great perspective, and now I'm prepared mentally to
Yeah.
win fierce.
Yes. Yes. But awesome that you're getting more leads. Love to see that coming through. What other thoughts do we have today? Issues we run into, wins, concerns, grievances, all the above. This is what this hour is for. Either put it in the chat, raise a hand, unmute.
I know, Victoria, you had asked a question or told me about a question you wanted to ask, rather, in the group call a couple of weeks ago. You may have already gotten it answered, but if you're wanting to jump in for that one, here's a chance.
I did not ask my question. I'm always like
Ha
miles away from my phone. I actually had input on that last thing too.
Oh, great.
But I'm getting the kids ready to get out the door. But so I'll give my input real quick first. The other thing that we had learned the hard way is also have some verbiage. We do have an attorney that looks over our contract, but we did not do this job on our contract. We made the mistake and learned the hard way to do it on their pay schedule and their contract. And one thing I would definitely make sure you put in your contract, and always try to do the work on your contract, is your process for a punch list. We from now on are going to be specific about we submit a punch list. Everything that is on there will get reviewed, with us. We'll walk through. So the client needs to walk through, create their punch list item, and then we'll walk through with them for a final walkthrough and finalize the punch list. And they only get the one. Because we've had a big job that we just did that they can every time they gave us a punch list, we walked through, we did all the repairs, they said everything's good, and then they came back 2 days later and gave us another punch list, and we ended up doing like 7 or 8 punch lists, which pushed out the payment. Yeah, which the project was you don't get paid until all the units are done. It was an apartment complex. And so just one unit having 3 tiny little things pushed us out like days and days to get paid. So that's my 2 cents. But yeah, my question was, we are a residential and commercial remodel company. And I was just curious as to like who, and especially if anybody is in Tulsa area, who you use for like your big bulk material orders, because we go through Lowe's for everything, because we've got 2 great reps from the Pro Desk that we really get great discounts, like really good discounts. And but the only thing that we've run into is that there's always issues with getting the materials. So we'll make like a bulk order and they'll say it's ready, and then we'll get there and they'll be like half the stuff isn't even at the store or whatever, just like Lowe's stuff. I'm sure people have experienced this before. But the discounts are just so worth it to our clients and us. That's one of our biggest selling points, is that we can get materials for such a good price. I don't know, like if anybody's had experience with where they get their materials and the deliveries on that too. The deliveries, because they use a third party, I mean, almost always are like a week or two late, and it pushes back our jobs, and clients get upset, and we don't get notified because it says it's going to be here tomorrow, but really when we ask them, they're like, oh, we don't even know where that order is right now. Somewhere on a truck somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Great question. Sarah, I know you had your hand up. It may have been a little bit of a overlap from the last one, but if you got some on this as well, go ahead.
Oh, well, it's an overlap of the last one. When Victoria was talking about the punch list, I also recommend having your clients sign a COS, a certificate of satisfaction, after you do that punch list, so they cannot come back and say, oh, here's more, here's more, here's more.
Yes.
That helps a lot.
Amen.
Nice.
Same thing with change orders. Before you do a change order, it needs to be signed, you know, like you gotta make sure that any extra work is signed and approved by both parties.
Yeah.
Otherwise you will end up losing money. But James, I see your hand up. What feedback do you have on this, on the materials side?
Well, I don't want to overlap on Victoria's question there. I was kind of going back. I kind
That's
of had an
okay.
issue with the punch list situation as well. But Victoria, I use Home Depot. Great discount, same problems. So
Yeah.
I think that's you know, unless you start dividing up into just a lumber guy and just this and just this, it's hard. But I have Home Depot started where they have an individual account rep for smaller people, and they're based out of Atlanta, but we're on the phone all the time, and I email them, and I just told him, I was like, dude, you've got to fix this. And so now then he's told everybody that I get all my stuff in one truck instead of 3 or 4 different trucks, because they buy from a lumber company just like we would. And that's helped a little bit, but anyway. So back to the punch list thing. And I was going to ask, I sent Bryce an email earlier. Does anybody have like a written warranty? I do bathrooms, kitchens, just a little GC stuff. Any type of written warranty that has exactly how this warranty works and lays out, just something to kind of give me a starting point. And the reason I ask is I have this lady that she had a pipe burst or something. It was an insurance scope deal. And during the job, she started nitpicking the insurance scope and thinking they were paying me too much for this and that and this. And so we finally get all that done. We do a punch list walkthrough with her. She pays us. She's happy. And then it's been about 10 weeks since then. And she is now sending us emails with, we missed this. We didn't do this. Our workmanship is shoddy. And this, and this. I sent my project manager to go meet with her, and she has like a 10,000 lumen flashlight that she's walking through, looking at the texture on the walls, behind the toilet, and now then she's saying we scraped up her refrigerator. And I'm just like, it's been 10 weeks. And so it's like, I'm just like at a lot. Like I know I'm just going to piss her off, because I'm just going to tell her I'm going to do this, but that's it. And so anyway, long story short, I started in roofing, and I have a roofing warranty that I send out, but I was hoping to put together, this is exactly, we'll warranty anything that you can see with the naked eye. We're not going through with magnifying glasses and 10,000 lumen flashlights to try to find mistakes. But anyway, just kind of looking for a warranty certificate that I can send out to my customers, and to try to limit this basically. And that's the other thing too, is this last time we went through to have her sign our punch listing, she refuses to sign it, because I'm like, okay, well, now then I know that she's just trying to get one over. But anyway, thanks for listening to me vent. If anybody has any help, thanks.
I don't do general contracting like that, but we do have a clause for residential customers that states that once they pay, that they're 100% satisfied. So meaning, like, once their payment is done, that means that they're satisfied with all the work, and so we have that in a clause in our contracts with them.
does that exclude warranties? Do you offer any warranties with that? Or like, what does that look like?
Well, in California, we have to do a 1-year warranty, regardless, on most things. So, I mean, basically my contract does give a 1-year warranty on all, material, or I'm sorry, on all material, not necessarily 100% labor.
Feedback. Mr. Barnes.
So mine was first on the Lowe's supplier. I'm in Tulsa area as well. I use Builders First or some, but at the end of the day, Lowe's beats everybody's price just because the quantity they buy. I could see a lot of problems with the delivery and stuff like that, but as far as their pricing is concerned, they kill everybody else's prices around. They can't get some stuff other people can, but I've had a lot of luck with Lowe's really, as far as like sheetrock prices and stuff like that.
Nice.
And then on the punch list, we got a customer pretty much the same way. I had ChatGPT write up I basically explained what I wanted in the warranty, and it wrote it up pretty well. It hit a lot of points, and yeah.
Nice. Keenan, I don't know if you had the same. I know you guys are partners, but go ahead. If you got something
No,
else as
mine
well.
was actually on the punch list stuff. I worked for a company a while back as a large production builder. And the way we kind of did it was when we do our final walkthrough to get that final punch list done with the customer, you would have to stand 6 feet away from anything that they would be like, oh, that doesn't look good. If you can't see it from 6 feet away under natural light, then we're not going to cover it. And it pissed a lot of people off, but it got away from all that little nitpicky. I mean, James, it kind of sounds like same folks. I'd have people laying on the floor with flashlights looking up the wall at texture and just insane stuff at times. So that may be something you could try. I'm not sure. We really just always push back to, hey, this is an industry standard. Nothing's perfect, but we'll do the best we can.
Yeah, good
I like
feedback
that.
there,
I
Keenan.
think that just is also like your contract can kind of say what you want it to say, and so like just don't be afraid of that. Obviously always have an attorney like look it over if you want to make sure it's legally clad, but like your warranty can be what you want your warranty to be, so just know that it's kind of the ask and you shall receive principle as well, where it's like, hey, if you don't like the way things are currently going, let's change it. The worst somebody can say is no, but most people are not. So just set expectations. That's the main thing. People don't want to be surprised. So, before you do the walkthrough or before you start the job, let's make sure we go over it so that people aren't, surprised, which is typically when people get upset. So, Chris, I see your hand up. What feedback do you got, or question or answer?
No, I was just going to chime in on the warranty thing. So here in Arizona, we have a 2-year warranty on all of our work. I think that's both labor, workmanship, and materials, if I'm not mistaken. But typically the materials fall under the manufacturer warranty, so you can't obviously warranty it beyond that. So usually your state will have guidelines on what your warranties need to be, and you should model your warranty after the state guidelines, because here it's 10 feet away. So it's got to be within a 1/16 of an inch, within 6 feet plumber level, and it's got to be 10 feet away. If you can see it 10 feet away, then it needs to be fixed. But if you can't see this nitpicky stuff, then that's, so we're even better. We got 10 feet on your 6 feet, so it gives us a little bit more. But on the drywall thing, unless the client's paying for your level 5 drywall, you're paying for orange peel or texture. You know, that's, you get what you get, you know. The framing is the framing. We're not here to shim it and level it unless you want to pay us for, you know, flat drywall. So just some things to think about, but I'd check your state guidelines for your warranties, and because that's going to be, you obviously want to take care of your customer and try to help them out. But, you know, if it's something that you can handle easily, or something that kind of you could construe as kind of your fault or kind of not your fault, settling or whatever, sometimes, you know, I'll do it, make the customer happy, build that relationship, because they'll tell other people, hey, this guy really took care of me. He didn't have to do that, you know. So it just depends on the situation, I guess. So, but yeah, you get those clients in there that want to nitpick you, call you back. Oh, I need that. You need to adjust this. It's out, you know, a 30-second. It's like, so.
Yeah, nice. Mr. Jordan, tell us what you got, sir.
Some things that we try to do as like a more of a service-based company than a remodel company is we try to incorporate the warranties into our estimates in terms of like our good, better, best. So on like our best option, because we're using the premium materials, that's going to have like a 3-year warranty, and our standard option would be a 1-year warranty, and then the Band-Aid option is like a 60-day warranty. And then that just helps us like say, hey, we're standing by the materials and the work more on a premium than just like a Band-Aid, cheapest way to fix it. You know, like this isn't what we're recommending, but if you just want it done as cheap as possible, that's what we do. And then we also, in terms of like suppliers, so I mostly work with specific electrical suppliers, but recently what I did was, I just asked. So they do tier pricing, and typically they're based on volume. But I just asked their like management department, and I was like, hey, we pay our bill weekly. We've never had any hiccups. You know, we use you guys exclusively, even though we don't. You know, would you bump us up into the next tier pricing? And the lady didn't even hesitate. She was like, yep. And she bumped us up from tier 2 to tier 1 pricing. So it was just like a simple question. And to hit the tier 1, you're supposed to have $1 million in purchase orders to get there. And so we're far away from that, but she still put us in there just because we have like a good credit rapport with them. So up here also, if I use like a box store, we use Menards. I don't know if you guys have Menards down there in Tulsa, but what I've found is that for building materials, Menards is, at least in the electrical world, the best stocked for building materials.
We
Thanks, guys.
wish, Jordan. When we go to Missouri, my brother-in-law makes us stop at Menards because he loves Menards so much, and we do not have them here in Tulsa, unfortunately. But it is nice. Yeah. Fletcher, I see your hand up. If you want to unmute.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to do that. Unmute.
Yep, we
No,
can
I
hear
didn't.
you.
Oh, I did. Sweet. Because I'm on my phone this morning. I didn't know the unmute. Anyway.
Oh man, looking cool though. Where are you at?
I'm doing wood repairs on a historic home right today.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I miss the mountains and the pine trees.
Carry
on. Sorry,
I
Fletcher.
got a guy out for a doctor's appointment. We deal with lead paint, so you guys got to get their test for lead. So he's out and I'm covering him. So I got a couple things to add. One about punch lists and warranties. We only do warranties here in Michigan. We only do warranties on labor. The rest of the materials and things, that warranty is based on whatever warranty that material provides. So if we do any work, they say, is it a warranty on this? And I tell them, yep, whatever the material warranty is, we do warranty on labor only. We do punch lists, and we do scope of work, of course, with everything with detail. When I do have customers, which is a customer I'm going to be calling after this call, who complain about the work and maybe nitpicking, I explain to them the type of work that we do. We're dealing with a lot of historical things. So I always just communicate it won't be perfect. So flashlights and microscopes and magnifying glasses, all those things, I guess maybe I'm a little cold, all those things sort of just roll off my shoulder and go, well, that's not what we use to put this material on here. We won't be using that. Nothing in the scope of work described that we'd be using microscopes or telescopes or scope. Nothing in the scope of work said we were going to do that. So the finished work that you have is from our trained craftsmen. This is what we're doing. Our techs are doing this. And so this is the completed work. So maybe I'm cold, I don't know. But I know that the work that we do is always to the T, because we train on it. And when I have customers who maybe didn't read the scope of work or didn't understand it, I'm constantly in conversation and communication with them. The other thing that we do is I protect ourselves with the draw schedule. Our first deposit that we get from our customer, it pays for the labor. I'm just letting you know that right now. My guys are covered the first payment they give me. Labor is paid for. All right, so I have credit lines and things like that. They can purchase materials or whatnot. My job after my crew is paid for is to get my money back.
Yeah.
That's my job. My job is to make sure they're happy and we get our money back. But no matter what happens, if the customer's like, I'm not paying you another dime, it didn't cost me anything to do the work. They paid for the labor.
Yeah.
And then each draw schedule is based on a phase as well. So our customers pay per phase. So they pay for completion. So they get to see each phase as we go from beginning to end. They say, okay, I'm satisfied with that, then they pay. I'm satisfied with that, then they pay. So our draw schedule is based on that work as well. So the next phase that we do is now paying for the materials that we bought through our credit line or the overhead or things like that. We're getting the rest of the money after that. So I can feel confident having a conversation with a customer saying, hey, that's not what we discussed or that's not what we're doing or things like that, because I know my crew is paid for. And I'm not paying for the work that's already been done only in phase one.
Yeah. Yeah, we always want to make sure that money stays ahead of the work and the materials as best as we can. Robert just did a workshop about profiting as you progress, making sure that you're not waiting to the end of the job to collect all of your profit, because if somebody's going to get mad and not pay you, that's usually the time where that happens, so you don't want to wait to have your profit at the very end. Want to make sure that the last payment you collect is the smallest draw out of all of them. And so just make sure you're setting those expectations. Doing draws off of doing a draw schedule based on mile markers is pretty normal. You can also do a draw schedule just simply based on a time frame where it's like, hey, this job takes 4 weeks. And so every week we get a draw. What I hate to see is if people do it based on mile markers. Maybe you're waiting on your cabinet guy and that's the only thing you're waiting on, and the cabinets are running behind, and now you're not able to collect that draw, and now you're having to pay for materials or labor, that's already been done because you're waiting on the cabinet guy. And so sometimes it's nicer to do draw schedules based on time frames compared to mile markers. But either way, just want to make sure that it gets established, it gets communicated before we start work. They agree to it, signed, all that good jazz. What other questions, thoughts?
That's actually a good point too, Nicole, because I have run into that where
Yeah.
since we are doing phases of mile markers,
Yep.
I have things that get held up. And so now we're like, well, we didn't get that draw.
Yep.
How are we supposed to move forward if we didn't get that draw? So that does happen too. So I'll
It
talk to
can.
Travis more about how I can get my timing a little sharper.
Yes. Love that. Any other questions, thoughts?
I just like how Travis is sitting there just off to the side. And a
He
quiet
only
one.
comes
Yeah,
to
we'll
these.
take care of you, Fletcher.
Yeah, he only comes to this meeting so he can get praise. I hear praise
Yeah.
from Travis every time he comes. He never says anything. He's just here to get rooted and patted on the back. I'm teasing.
I chime in when I have something valuable to say,
No,
right?
I'm teasing, Travis. I'm teasing.
That's good.
I do have a question because it is getting to a point where I need to hire somebody or have somebody help me with all the leads that I'm getting. So I'm looking for a way to possibly organize it. I'm having calls from customers who may have received the bid and haven't talked to, I haven't heard back from, but I called and left a message, haven't heard back from in 2 weeks, while at the same time I have new customers, while at the same time I'm going out to see new customers. So I'm like balancing, and I can see that my communication is beginning to fail with clients, which is going to lose me jobs. And I want to be able to service jobs, and I would love to schedule things out all the way through next year if I can. I mean, I don't know what La La Land I'm living in, but that'd be nice to have December of 2026 figured out too. But just wondering if anyone has a system, or how do they organize the influx of calls they receive and make sure they're making communication with the customers already?
It's a great question. I see, Laura, you're in the chat. CMM is your new best friend. Love that plug. Laura, you're correct. Where having that CRM system where all of your leads are going into, so you can kind of play some catch up, make sure everything's getting tracked, things aren't getting missed. That's super important. I'm always a big advocate of getting an office manager. It's usually a position that's easy to find. It's usually not a super high paying position, so it's not a huge investment. Sometimes people are reluctant to do it just because they feel like it's not a revenue producing position. But if your office manager is not producing revenue for you, something is wrong. Either we're not equipping them to do the right things to produce revenue, or they're not the right fit. And you can kind of work with your coach to figure that out. But there's really not a better investment than getting a good office person in there who could answer the phone, schedule appointments, order materials, fill out tracking documents, follow up with estimates, send out newsletters. I mean, there's so much that that person can do to help you close more deals, save money, save time, and then you're able to focus on your highest and best use, which is managing projects and selling jobs. And that in itself pays for the office manager with the time that it frees you up. And so if it's getting to the point, Fletcher, where you're pretty booked out, you got a lot of work coming in, I think that's a conversation worth having with your coach of, is it time? Is it time to get an office manager in? I don't know if anybody can testify to the magic of an office manager, but I'm seeing some head nods.
If you guys have a job description for office manager, 'cause I've never had an office manager. I've just been wearing the same hats, or my dad has been wearing the hats, and I had to take them off and put them on my head.
Yeah.
And let's just say my office doesn't look managed with all the papers everywhere. So what does
Yeah.
the office manager description look and sound like?
Yeah. We've definitely got all the tools that you need, from different scripts to use for different types of calls to a daily office workflow checklist, all of that good stuff. So I see Travis working on the computer right now, Fletcher. So I think he's working to get you those items.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it here in the chat so everybody can share in the well.
Yes.
Hey, Fletcher, I felt the same way. And I utilized the Red and Growth job description to get it started, but you'll be shocked how much you will be able to guide them, and how much you already know what you want them to do once they get going, and it'll just take off, and you'll be able to articulate it once they get going. But the job description they have is a great start.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is that job position is going to evolve? You know, there might be some first things that you want them to do, just as like, hey, let's start them with answering the phone and filling out CMM. Like that's their first things. And then once they get that nailed down, you're just slowly adding. That's a position that, you know, can absolutely evolve and should.
You'll be thinking you need a second one before you know it.
That is typically the reaction. Or you'll end up hiring a project manager because now you have somebody answering the phone and you're booking more jobs, and then the field gets busier. Like it's definitely a domino effect. Travis, I appreciate you. I see you put that function of an office admin document in the chat here. What other questions do we have today? Thoughts, things you're running into, learning?
Sarah, I know I may be putting you on the spot here. I know Ryan had asked this question. We talked about it a little bit this morning, but you may be able to flesh it out a little bit more about building relationships with developers if you wanted to give that a little bit more context and maybe present it to the group for some feedback.
Building relationships with developers.
Help.
Thanks for putting me on the spot. Well, I'm looking to build relationships with developers right now. I've been building relationships with architects, designers, real estate agents, real estate brokers, and I reach out, follow up, reach out, email calls, referrals, and I'm constantly booking meetings. And then I do a follow-up meeting, and then I do another follow-up meeting to build the relationship. So I've also I'm part of, like, have you heard of Alignable? It's like a networking for, like, I do that, and that's what I've been finding a lot of, like, architects and developers. I also go on like the HBA and check out their list. They have their whole list of everybody that's in the group, and you can just print it out and you just
Nice. Okay.
But I am an office manager, and I run the phones, run the calendars, I run the CRM. Like, I can put in estimates, I can do all of it.
Yeah. And even developing some of these relationships, which is pretty key for sure.
Yep, I go on a lot of meetings. I have a lot of meetings. Ryan and I tag team, sales, all of it.
Wonderful. Okay. Nice. Well, thanks for rolling with the punch that's there and taking that on.
Absolutely.
The thing that I think would be cool to ask the group and getting some feedback is in trying to develop relationships with people that would give you opportunities for new builds, like in the like new construction of custom homes, or even maybe spec homes. Who have been the relationships that have actually produced work or given work? Anybody that's gotten work through connections or relationships, just kind of general categories of who would be great to target to try to build a relationship for that. If anyone's got feedback there.
Architects seem to be the best for us.
Nice.
Architects are great. Designers are good, but the architects, I seem to get a lot more out of architects than anything.
Nice. Mr. Jordan, go ahead.
We work with a couple design companies, and that's nice because we're typically already in with a high-end client at that point. You're not typically, low income's not going to hire a designer. So, and then all the communication and everything goes through the designer. So we don't have to work directly with the customer on like change orders or anything like that. So that's a nice side for us, is through designers, but it's not quite new home builds or anything like that. But they do a lot of like lighting remodels and things like that, which we get to take a part of.
Nice.
And then also third party work for us. Although it's a nightmare to navigate, we're really trying to dive into that stuff because most retail stores, like say it's Gap, that Gap doesn't want their retail managers to have to find a contractor. So they have service contracts set up with third party vendors. And so if you can get in as like a preferred vendor with Gap, or whatever third party services Gap, they just call you whenever Gap has an issue rather than you having to work with each individual retailer. And you might fall in line with one, like we fell in line with one that services the biggest mall out here and the outlet mall out here. So it might look like just one job, but they might be representing 20 businesses in town or something like that.
Nice. Great feedback, Jordan.
Jordan, how did you get those relationships? How did you build those?
Cold calling. And then some third party stuff just has come in through GLS. And then whenever something comes in, it's like hop on that. Like nothing else matters. We're gonna go to PF Chang's today because they have a lighting issue. And even if it is, that's like a $300 job, but you've got your foot in the door now with them. In terms of the designers, it was just cold calling.
That's how you started your business, right, Jordan? Is just like going to Google and smile and dialing through it.
Yeah.
Dang. Stud.
That's an entrepreneur mindset right there. So I'm going to find the work.
That's right.
That's how I found Riley.
Yeah, which is how you end up here. Which is awesome. What other questions do we have going on today? Thoughts? Concerns, grievances?
Is Alexander Barrientos on the call?
He sure is.
Here I am.
Alexander, there you are, buddy.
What's up?
How you doing, bro? I was in another meeting with my boss and our accountant a second ago, but that's why I'm a little bit late here. But Alexander emailed me a question this week, and I thought it'd be a really good question to bring to the group. And so I said, Alexander, are you willing to bring this question to the group? Can we discuss it? Because it's kind of a unique question, but I think a good one to cover in front of everybody. So I just want to tee it up for you and for you to kind of lay the framework of what's going on.
All right. So yes, I had emailed Robert about some questions I had with his company, Power Builders. I know he has a business partner where he works more on the business side, and his partner works more on the getting jobs completed and the execution of bringing a remodel to fruition. I was curious on those, having a business partner and what those relationships would look like, and any advice on how to go about that pretty much.
And what's the opportunity that you have right now that that's causing you to ask this question?
So I've done a lot of our remodels that I have managed and gone over have only been they're all been under $20,000. We're getting a lot higher dollar amounts. We're getting opportunities at additions and commercial work, just bigger scope of work coming in. And I have a really good friend. He grew up on a job site. His family is they're developers. So ever since he was little, he's been working on a job site. He knows how everything works, but he doesn't get very much work. So anytime there's a slow season, which for those developers, they make so much money in big chunks that they might be in a slow season for 8, 9, 10 months and nothing's happening. And he's always looking for work. So I see an opportunity where I can have him as our go-to project manager. He goes out and gives bids. He's just our contractor. We're on my end. I focus on closing the leads, talking to customers, and really just selling. So in my mind, I was like, there could be potential for a good relationship to start here to really build up this company to the next level.
Right. Yeah. So the question is, hey, I've got a guy who can do higher end development work that I can't do right now. And I am starting to get leads and opportunities for higher end development work. And I need someone who can do that kind of work. I'm not the guy to do that kind of work. And so, the question, hey, how should I go about pursuing a partnership? And there's a few things that I have on this. The first thing is this, and I would apply this to everybody in every situation, is if you can avoid getting a business partner, then avoid getting a business partner. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you can give people a high paying job or a job that comes with a lot of upside or incentives. It could even be profit sharing, right? even doing profit sharing with a member of your team is different from giving them equity, right? So that's the first thing I'd recommend is if you can, because the reason why I say that is because whenever you have a partnership, you are in some sense relying on somebody else that you don't have control over. And that is just another kind of point of risk in like growing a business that you're adding, right? And so for me, the partnership, the reason why I'm in a partnership is because the partnership allows me to do what I could not have done otherwise without the partnership. Like I can't be in Seattle, right? I live in Tulsa. I can't be running another business full time, right? Even though I've had to step in at different times of Power Builders as we've grown and do stuff like that. But in my situation and in other partnership situation, I think the litmus test should be, hey, is this partner allowing me to do something that I could not do on my own? And Alexander, your temptation to that question may be, well, yeah, the developer can do development I can't do. But you could also just bring him in as a project manager for the project, right? You could almost sub out the entire job to him if you wanted to. And even if you're only making like, you know, let's say you sub it all out and you pay him 80% of all that you collect from the customer. Well, you're still leaving with a 20% gross margin. I know for your business right now, you don't have a lot of expenses, you know, like overhead. The overhead's not too big. And that's still a deal that is worth doing. Then you're able to look over his shoulder, right? Has a job and he's motivated to work it because they're slow. You're looking over his shoulder, kind of learning to do the things that he can do. And so before going into a partnership, you would just want to ask yourself, hey, could I, if I really needed to, hire this kind of person for a job? Like, even if I paid them a lot of money. And the reason why you want to be so careful about giving someone equity is because, number one, you know, if you are responsible for really starting the business, taking on all the risk, like putting the financial backing up, and then when you go to sell one day, like you're going to be having to give a big chunk of whatever you sell to that person, right? When you're selling a business, that's like ultimate wealth building strategy, right? And you could, you know, let's say in a 50-50 scenario, it would cut your wealth building strategy in half, right, through a partnership. Now that may be worth it again, if the circumstances is right, but that's one of the reasons why you want to be careful. The other reason is because at the end of the day, someone can do something that the way that they want to do it, right? And you don't necessarily have control over that because they own equity in the business. It leaves room for potential disputes. It leaves room for, you know, like I've seen a lot of that, Alexander. And I think for me, like the only partnerships I've been in is with my dad and with Tyler. And the reason at the end of the day why I've partnered with them is because that when push comes to shove, I know that I can trust these people and that like the relationship will be prioritized over money. That's a really important thing for me. Like my partner, Tyler, honestly has, he like learning entrepreneurship was like a very new thing for him to learn. It was like a very big thing. It's taken a lot of, it's been like taking on a coaching client who's never owned a business before, right? But wants to start a company. But the reason why I love being Tyler's partner is because he stayed coachable, he stayed consistent, he stayed trustworthy. He hasn't ever lied to me, right? He hasn't, like, a number of months ago, I told him like, hey, I really want to be the only one to manage like cash coming out of our bank accounts. Like if you need to spend up to like $400 or $500 a day on material runs or whatever, that's fine. And the dude has honored that without question. Like ever since I had that conversation. And so I would recommend finding that kind of quality in someone over their business experience. But I'd also say, if I could do it over again, I would say, hey, I would recommend that someone is in like a career position or at least maybe owning their own business for a number of years. right? They're consistent in one kind of thing. They're consistent in like a corporate level job or being their own entrepreneur for a number of years before partnering with them. It's like that's something that my dad even told me and my other brothers. I didn't really want to work with my dad. It wasn't really the plan. But I know my younger brother did, and my dad told him, "Hey, you need to work for like 4 years in another company, to kind of, because I'm not going to want to fine tune all those kind of idiosyncrasies that we have before we, have our first big boy job and the responsibility and having to be client facing and all the stuff that comes with that too." So that's what I'd recommend. And in summary, it'd be number one, if you can avoid a partnership, if you don't need a partnership, don't do it. A lot of people get into partnerships that's unnecessary. Right. And then that creates conflict down the road because they're like, like this person isn't really even doing that much for the business. But in the beginning, it's like the excitement of like, oh, yeah, let's start a business together. Like, yeah, we're friends. Like, yeah, let's do it. And that turned like real money gets involved, like real risk gets involved, like real situations, like legal situations get involved. And that's like really tests the relationship. So that'd be the first thing. The second thing is, that you need a partner if they can do something that you can't do and you can't necessarily hire out, right? That'd be the opportunity to get the partner. In terms of the actual arrangement, I would never, ever do as much as you can a 50-50 arrangement. It can work for people. But even if that's not you, I'd always come up with one majority owner as well. And so I don't know if that answers your question. Here's what I'd recommend specifically for you, Alexander, is I would say, hey, let's do a trial run. Like I'd tell this guy, let's do a trial run with one project. Let's do one project together. Let's see how it goes. Like I will pay you what you need, right, for the project. Like I'll make it worth your while. Before we make a big commitment, I'm a real big believer in trial runs. For like everything. I'm a big believer in trial runs for hiring new employees, right? We did that with our construction manager at Power Builders, right? He wanted to make a lot of money and he was worth it. He wasn't asking for too much, but it was just a lot of money for us. So we put him on a 90-day trial run, right? We said, let's evaluate this over the next 90 days. So I'd start with a trial run, see how it goes, because you may find that he can just literally be like a general contracting sub, right? Or someone that's you pay very well, right, to do the work that he does, but he's not a business owner of yours. So anyway, Ryan Mordhorst, sorry.
I was just gonna add to that, Robert, because we had that same issue starting last year. I got a relationship with Adolphson and Peterson, and they actually come in and they help us build the larger projects. We bring them on, or we actually bring in a construction management company that has the actual, they've done the bigger builds, they have the experience, and then we work underneath them. That's kind of how we got around that.
Okay, but you're saying I didn't come up with a business partnership with them. I basically utilized them as like a vendor or a subcontractor. Or I was their subcontractor.
Right. I was their subcontractor or whatever. We're looking at a $30 million ground up commercial construction project, but we're bringing to the table. I have never done that type of project. So we're bringing to the table the disadvantaged business portion. And then they're going to help us learn how to build that because they're $1 billion company. And they've done.
That's a great recommendation. That's a great recommendation. Yeah. So what I hear Ryan saying is, even though he's not necessarily talking directly to you, Alex, what I hear him saying is like, hey, Alex, there are companies that like you can hire to do this kind of stuff for you. And because Alex, what I see you being really good at is like really good at sales, really good at customer communication, right? Really good at those kinds of things. And bro, you can absolutely, there's a lot of huge businesses out there that are disguised. They're just a sales company, right? Which means that the company and the owner just focuses on selling, and then they just literally sub everything out. So that's a legitimate business model. That's something that you're good at, and I don't think you need a partnership for that. But if you want to explore this thing, just give it a trial run, right? They'll give you more knowledge, more data points for you to make a firm decision on what you want to do.
Yeah, I think when you frame it in that sense, yeah, partnership doesn't make as much sense, but definitely locating somebody who I can consistently hand these bigger jobs off to and be confident in them completing that is something I'm going to start looking more seriously into to do. And I think that would be beneficial to our company. But when you frame it in that sense, it makes a lot more sense. It makes less sense for a partnership.
Yeah, again, just to let you know, we do that, but we do that with one of our employees. We pay someone as an employee, and we literally pass off our construction projects to him, and he just is brilliant. He just knocks it out, right? And so just be careful with the joint partnership thing, especially early. A lot of young guys make that mistake early on. Hey, Fletcher, what's up, bro? You got something to say? Oh, no, he's in the field, bro. He's like installing Windows as we speak.
I'm always in the field, man. I'm always in the field.
He's always in the field, man.
Even in my head. I was going to add that we don't do partnerships, but I do have, we do historic window restoration. So we take care of old windows, but we always have customers calling us for new windows. And we don't put in plastic windows. I just don't do it. I have a preference. So we have a cohort of contractors who does things we don't do. And they're
That's
all
awesome.
Sort of like on a contract. We have one large contract, and then they have small contracts like subcontracts for every job we do. For one large contract that communicates our relationship. And so it's not a partnership in a sense, but it is sort of a partnership, because every time we get a job that we can't do, like, for example, we just got a $40,000 window installation job, and we put them on it. And whatever basically what our cohort says is whatever you charge, we pay you, and then I put my percentage on top. So they only wanted $28,000 to put the windows in. We charge $40,000. We get the rest of the money.
Yeah. So that's in our business, in the consulting business, we call that white labeling.
White label.
Yeah, which is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Again, like what Fletcher's talking about is, hey, I'm good at selling and I get opportunities that I don't want to service, right? But I get the opportunity. So I'm just going to white label it out through another company, like under my brand. And if you're apprehensive about doing that, because you're like, well, what happens if customers, like, I just have never found that customers like take issue with that, you know? Like, you are the one providing the providing the solution. You are the one who's making the pricing agreement with them. Like, if you enter into an agreement, it's like they agree on your price, right? And then if you're solving the problem for that price point, right, you may have some people that take issue with it or whatever, but usually that's pretty avoidable in a simple conversation. So,
yeah, in addition to Robert, the reason why they find us is because we spend this money on marketing and meta ads and things like that. But
that's right.
The guys we're working with, they don't spend money on those things, and so they wouldn't find that job, and that customer wouldn't find that supplier at all. The only way they would find them is if I connected them to them.
That's 100% right. And that's why it makes sense. And that's why it's a simple conversation. If people did say something, that's what you tell them. Like I think we've only had to have that conversation maybe one or two times where someone was like, oh, we had this guy, I know we're over time. We did a siding project for this guy earlier this year. And like, we didn't do much on the project, but we sent our siding contractor there. And then we sent the bill, and the guy was like, well, the siding guy did everything. He was the hero. To which we kindly responded like, hey, this siding guy wanted to actually charge you twice as much as what he did. And we got him to lower his fee from $8,000 to $4,000. And so if you would have worked with this guy, you would have actually spent more than what you're paying us now, right? Like, that's the value. So a lot of times it's much more valuable, right, to go through you. So anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap up today. Good to see everybody. Great discussion, great feedback. And yeah, if you're new here, we're going to count down. We go 3, 2, 1. Robert Barnes, you want to lead it today? You want to lead us today? You want to count us down? Robert Barnes, count us down, Robert Barnes.
Go, Rob. Let's go, Rob.
Grow!
There you go, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you guys later.